Hey everyone, welcome back to the 401k podcast. I'm your host, Grant Ellis, and it is great to see, quote unquote, see everyone or hear everyone, whatever you do on a podcast. But it's been a minute, no big deal. Just want to give you a couple of quick housekeeping notes and updates, and then we will jump into the topic at hand. Every time I take a long break from 401ks, it's not for any other particular reason than I get busy. And yeah, I know when you don't schedule things out and you don't plan them and create space in your calendar for them, then they don't get done. And that's the case with the 401k playbook. But I'm back. I'm hoping to be more regular. Obviously, I can't make any promises, but there are going to be a couple of adjustments to the show that I want to let you know about. One is the audience. So early on when I created the 401k playbook, it was geared primarily for financial advisors. It was built for financial advisors who are either in the 401k space or want to be in the 401k space, or simply are bored out of their minds and want to listen to me drone on about 401k topics. And that's great. One of the missions that I have is to help advisors learn the different ways you can do this business. It can be a very challenging business to be in. And I think you can do it the right way and also be profitable and make a living. And I want to help advisors understand that. I also think that we all learn from each other. Some of the best conversations I have and some of the things that I learn the most are from other advisors that I have in my circle. And I'm really grateful for that. And I know sometimes when you're in a competitive environment like we are in as financial advisors, you can get to the point where you hold things close to vest, where you're like, oh, these are my secret things. And I don't want anybody to know about my secrets. It's like, listen, there are no secrets. There's nothing new under the sun. And I would encourage you, if you're an advisor, to be willing to share what you learned. If nothing else, number one, nobody's going to steal your secrets. Only you can do things the way that you do things. And if they do steal it, it's not going to be the same as the way you do it. So it's kind of irrelevant where we think that somebody's going to take what we do and all of a sudden magically take all of our clients and win all of the clients in the future. It's just not the case. But the other is there's always somebody on a different part of their journey that can learn something from what you know. And I think that's really important that, like, right now I'm 45. I'm kind of right in the center of my career, 21 years in, and could potentially work for another 20 or 30 years, which is crazy. Makes me feel both old and young at the same time. But, there are definitely advisors younger than me who could probably learn a few things from me. And there are definitely advisors that are older that we can learn things from each other. And so it's just one of those things where, listen, don't make it a zero-sum game. Be willing to share the information that you know and the knowledge that you have. It will only make us better as advisors and will only make plan experience better, both for the participants and the plan sponsor, which brings me to the second part of this. We also have plan sponsors that listen to the show. And even though it wasn't geared for that, I kind of assumed that at some point some plan sponsors might listen to it. The ones who are really bored or the ones who really I kid. I know I'm joking, but if you are a plan sponsor and you listen to the 401k playbook, first of all, thank you. Nice for you to join us. But I think that's great because we're going to dig into the things that are bubbling around in my brain. Not that that matters, but typically what's going on is there's something going on in the industry. There's something everyone needs to know about, everybody's talking about, or they don't know about it and they need to. And those are the types of things that we're going to talk about in the show. I plan to have some guests and all those things, but if not, it's going to be me and I'm going to be droning on a little bit. And if you like it, great. And if not, the good thing about a podcast is that you can turn it off and I don't blame you one bit. But plan sponsors, you are welcome to listen. We encourage you to listen and reach out and ask questions. I really just want to talk about things that matter when it comes to the 401k space. And it's such a complex, ever evolving landscape that you can never fully master it. And I think that's part of the point. So kudos to you for trying to dig in and learn a little bit more about your 401k plan or your benefit program. In the end, everything we're doing is trying to make sure that we help participants, 401k participants, have the best possible plan they can have to help them achieve their goals and retire the way they want to retire. The only way we can do that is to continuously talk about these subjects. And so just know some of the conversations are going to be geared potentially towards one group or the other. I'm going to try to make everything relative to all groups. We have some benefits managers that listen. We have some industry wholesalers, some investment people, some some general financial advisors. It's just kind of a plethora of people. Yeah, I said plethora. That's the good thing about a podcast too, is I get to say whatever I want. And when I was a kid, that got me in trouble, but now I embrace it. So yes, we have a plethora of people, different types of people that listen to the show. And I just think it's awesome. And it's been fun to have conversations with different people in the online world, make some friends too. Life's short. You want to make as many friends as possible. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. I love talking to people on LinkedIn. And a lot of those conversations lead to either in-person conversations or Zooms or whatever have you. And so it's just a really cool way to share information back and forth. It's definitely not just me sharing with you like I know everything, because I don't. more often than not, the things that I'm sharing are things that I am percolating on in my brain, that I'm thinking about and where I stand and what I think about it. It would be very nice if everything in the 401k world was very black and white, and some of it is, but there are a lot of things that have nuance and options and things that you need to think through and discuss as it relates to your plan or your business. And so please know that I'm not telling anybody what they need to do. I'm not. If anything, there's a term I use on LinkedIn a lot called preaching to the choir. And what I mean by that is like, I'm talking to me. I'm thinking through things that I want to know about. And sometimes, yes, I'm taking a hard stance. More often than not, when I feel like there's something being shouted from the rooftops, something being shouted from the rooftops that I don't necessarily think is in the best interest of 401k plans or their participants. Those are the kind of things I'm probably going to call out and talk about. I'm not afraid to take a strong stance on something. And I also say that I can always be wrong. So nothing I say is gospel. Nothing is meant to tell anybody else how to do anything. It's just to get the conversations going, provide some takes on some things that you might not have considered, and go from there. So just welcome to everybody who has decided to listen. I do appreciate it. I'm going to try to be more regular. And then the last announcement before we dive into the subject for the day. This now also has a video option. People tell me they like to watch videos, and I'm like, all right, well, cool. You're going to be sorely disappointed with my videos because just like my podcast, there's no fancy graphics or designs. We don't have a studio where we're recording it. Maybe one day we'll try to do some of those things, but I'm a big believer in taking action and not letting perfection get in the way of the action that you take towards it. And so that's what we're doing. So we are now we're going to have the podcast still, but the same version, it's not going to be different, is going to be recorded on video. And so if you're more of a video person, you like YouTube, and you want to see what my unimpressive desk and face looks like, then you can go to YouTube and watch our show as well. And I will link it to the comments of the podcast. And then I'm guessing if you search 401k Playbook or Grant Ellis on YouTube, you'll be able to find it, I guess, eventually. The algorithm has to probably make sure that I'm real and that anybody cares at all, which they may not, and that's okay too. The goal of this, obviously, is not to reach the masses. It's to reach the few people who really care about their 401k landscape, whether it's their business as an advisor or whether it is their team and their 401k process as an employer or plan sponsor. So that's what we're doing. So feel free to head on over to YouTube. If you like either of these things, feel free to like them and leave a review and all those things. Obviously, no pressure, but it does help more people find it. For better or for worse, we are at the beck and call of the algorithm. And you know how that works. The more interaction you get, the more it gets shared, the more you like it, all those things, more people see it. And that's the goal, is for the people who want to learn more about these things to be able to do so. So just know there's a couple of different formats for you as we move forward, and we'll keep trying to get better. So now to the topic at hand for the day. This has been bubbling around in my brain a lot, and it's 401k fees, but it's not just fees. I know in our industry, everybody yells right now that like, you don't need to be talking about fiduciary fees or funds. And I'm like, well, you kind of do. You kind of need to talk about all those things. Now, it might not be everything, right? There is no world where we're going to say the lowest cost is best. The Department of Labor actually says that. They say, listen, you are not evaluating your 401k plan simply to find the cheapest option. That's not good in life. And I've done that plenty of times. I used to do it with clothes, where I'd be like, I'm not spending good money on clothes. And I'd buy the 50% off blazer at the mall. And I'd be like, I am bucking the system here because I got this blazer and I'm going to look awesome. And then I'd put it on and it looked like I'm doing movements. This is probably where the video comes in, but I'd look, my shoulders would look funny and everything would look funny and I'd feel terrible. And then obviously it would probably also rip or fall apart very quickly. 401ks are similar to blazers, I guess, in that way. And the fact that cheap is not the option, but you want to do cost benefit analysis. You want to make sure that you're getting value for an appropriate cost for what you're receiving. But we're going to back up from that today because number one, you need to understand what the 401k costs and what fees are associated with that. And that was never an easy thing. Okay. With the 401k plan, the fees are complex. They are many. They are numerous, if you would say it that way. And so it's never been an easy thing. And the government has tried to take strides to make it more transparent. I will tell you anything. If there's a hill that I will never, what do you say? What's the phrase? This is how ridiculous I am. Hill to die on? Is that the phrase? If there's a hill for me to die on, it's going to be transparency when it comes to 401k plans. I think we've done a disservice to plan sponsors and to 401k participants by making things complex and convoluted. not all of it unnecessarily, but a lot of it. And 401k fees are prime examples. Let's back up a little bit, provide the landscape. What fees do you have inside of a 401k plan? In reality, there are always three core fees. And then there's these tentacles of fees and structure and how the fees are paid and all the things. So if you're trying to understand what a fee structure for a 401k plan looks like, number one, I would not start with the fee disclosure documents. A while back, I don't remember when, I forget which regulation it was, maybe it'd been Dodd-Frank, something like that. But the government decided, hey, we want 401k plan sponsors and participants to understand what their fees look like. So you are now required, if you are a provider, which is primarily record keepers. So think of it like this. If you have health insurance and it's with like Blue Cross, this is your for your 401k provider. We call them a record keeper. They're the company that you log into, the investments provided, participant statements and all that stuff. They have a fee, but they have a requirement that came a few years ago, or it might have been many years ago now, to where they have to disclose the fees. There are two documents that you have to provide as a record keeper. They are the fee disclosure documents, and they are the 408B2 and the 404A5. There won't be a test on this, but if you want to know for some reason what the name of the documents are, 404A5, 408B2. One is a plan fee disclosure and the other is a participant fee disclosure. Those are required to be developed, updated, and provided on the record keeper website every single year. Now, the problem is a couple of different things. One is those aren't always easy to find. When we are reviewing 401k fees for a 401k plan sponsor, most often we have to go in and have them log in and we can help them find the documents. So number one, listen, I get it. These providers might not want their fees to be displayed, but like, don't make it hard. Don't make people dig to figure out what you're being paid. I think that's unfortunate. So that's issue number one in my mind, is make it prominent, make it easy to find. Be proud of your fee structure. And if you're not proud of your fee structures, change it. But inside of these plans, there are always three fees. And we're going to get a little bit more detailed as we go and not keep this 18 hours. But you always have three primary core fees in a 401k plan and then a lot of potential other fees. The primary fees you're looking for, number one, record keeping required revenue. Record keeping required revenue, which is the fee that provider is making for being the record keeper for your plan. So that's fee number one. Fee number two, the investment expenses, also known as expense ratios, whatever. They're the investment expenses, the cost of the investments. No investment is free. If anybody tells you one is, they're lying, okay? They're lying. Everybody gets paid. But the investment expenses, typically you look at those based on the amount of money that is in each investment for the 401k, for the participants, and average it out. And it's called a weighted average. And you will have this number that is a percentage, that is a weighted average percentage investment cost. So required revenue from the record keeper, investment costs, and then advisor compensation. This also can be paid from a bunch of different spots, but advisor compensation, what are you paying your advisor and what are you getting for it? I don't know why this seems to be something that is new, that plan sponsors are starting to figure out they need to ask these questions. I get it. It's not their fault. I don't understand. And this is to the advisors. If you're an advisor who's providing a service to anyone, wealth, 401k, I don't care, own your fee structure and be transparent and upfront about it. And I guess, I don't know if it's advisors are nervous about plan sponsors not feeling like they're getting what they're paying for. If that's the case, it's still a problem because the Department of Labor requires that plan sponsors do fiduciary due diligence on everybody that provides a service and is paid in the plan. And that's the financial advisor as well. So we as an industry need to be benchmarking our own fees, right? So one of the things we do for every plan is like, here's what we get paid. And as it gets bigger, here are the breakpoints at which point we are going to reduce our fee to ensure it stays in line and is suitable and appropriate based on other plans of this size. So the data informs every decision we make when it comes to fees. And I would tell you, plan sponsors, if you don't know what your advisor is being paid, you really want to look into that. We've seen some egregious stuff over the last, 2 decades. I'll never forget, there was a plan back in the day, one of the first plans I ever started working with, and the plan was probably $5 million. I don't even know what the fee should be on that, but let's call it 0.4%. You can do the math on that. I can't, I'm not that smart right now. But the advisor was making over $100,000 a year on that plan. And the plan sponsor had no idea. And of course, when they found that out, they were like, no, like what? We don't even see the guy. He comes once a year and we don't do anything and he getting $100,000? No, we're not cool with that. So you use the data, you do a benchmarked fee analysis. This is what the advisor does. plan sponsors, you have to find an advisor who is willing to bring you the information and the data and to review it on your behalf, because it's really hard to do on your own. But those are the 3 fees that you're looking at. And then you've got all these ancillary fees. We're not going to talk about all these today because I want to get to the point at hand, which is there's a problem right now. But ancillary fees include transactional fees for things like processing loans and distributions, trustee custody fees. Sometimes there's like a $500 trustee custody fee. You also sometimes, not always, have a TPA fee, a third-party administrator. So if the plan is being administrated by a third party, which we like typically, they're going to have their own fee structure. We're not even going to talk about that today because we rarely see that being an issue, and it's a fee typically paid directly by the plan sponsor or the company. So we're going to focus on fees that are more often than not borne by participants in their accounts. And then you've got other potential fees, just depending on what the plan has, but it's always kind of little ticky-tacky fees. And we're going to list them all, but we don't want to focus on those because those are fairly insignificant compared to the main fees that we're talking about today. So why does this matter? First of all, you want to understand what you're looking for, right? Find the 3 fees. And sometimes they're not easy to find. This is insane. And this brings me to the problem. Here's one of the problems that we're seeing right now is that over the years, there's been what we call fee compression for record keepers. So all of the investment providers that offer the chassis for the 401k plans, they've had to continuously drop their fees. We call it fee compression. Fees get lower. And you think, well, that's a good thing, right? And you're like, in theory, yes. In theory, anytime you can lower the fees, that's a great thing. But the problem is that these companies have to remain profitable to be able to continue to provide the service they provide. And that becomes harder and harder to do as you continuously lower your fees and provide more and more service and more options, which they have done. So record keepers sometimes get a bad rap, but they're a company, they've got to make money. They have to do their job or they're going to go out of business. So if you're a record keeper, this is one of the things I've been trying to work through. If you're a record keeper and you are making less and less money every single year on the same size of plan, what do? I've been exploring this a little bit because one of the struggles I've had, we were reviewing a plan fee disclosure document for a prospective client a couple of weeks ago. And first of all, the thing was 19 pages and it was absolutely insane. And I'm telling you, I've been doing this for over 20 years and I couldn't understand what was going on. I could not figure out what was going on because there was revenue sharing inside of the plan. All that means is the investments are throwing off revenue that are going somewhere. That revenue is going to someone or it's being credited back to the plan. This adds a whole new level of complexity, which we're not going to talk about, because if you have those 3 pieces to the fee puzzle, but then you throw in revenue sharing, every single investment has a different level of revenue sharing unless you equalize it, which the advisor can help you do, but is often not done. And that revenue can be paid to different parties. It can go back to the record keeper, therefore they're getting paid more. It's one way they drive revenue. It can go to the advisor, so they're getting paid more, or it can go back to participant accounts and reduce the fees to them. I rarely see that. Why? I don't see them reducing the fees that often. It does happen, but revenue sharing makes things extremely, extremely convoluted and complex. So inside of this 18-page fee disclosure document, we couldn't figure out what was actually going on. That's crazy because we do this every day. And so we talked to the different providers and they gave us what they thought was happening. I talked to some industry financial advisor buddies who were extremely smart individuals, and they told me what they thought was going on. We all had different understandings of what the fee structure looked like. So can you imagine being a plan sponsor, number one, finding that fee disclosure, but then number 2, trying to decipher it? I mean, we used our ciphers and our cryptology and our Morse code and our sign language and we didn't use any of that, but that's what you needed. You needed a degree in cryptography from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology to be able to decipher what was going on. And I joke because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. It made me angry. So we ended up figuring out what was going on. And it was not what you thought. So things were not as they seem. And we have a problem with that. We want transparency in plans. But really taking this a step further, I was doing some investigation. And we got some quotes for this plan from these other providers. And this plan, let's call it a $22 million 401k. This plan came back. And again, we have the data, right? We're going to be able to look at the revenue and the required fees and figure out how is that high or low comparatively based on the services being offered to other plans of this size and scope. That's what's called a benchmark. We have access to software that helps us do that. Well, the pricing quote came back from this provider, and It was unbelievably cheap. So for a $22 million plan, baseline required revenue. So what we always ask for is we want revenue before any credits. And if you're pricing out a 401k plan, that's what I would encourage you to do. Why? Because it levelizes the playing field. They're not throwing in any like, hey, we're going to give you a deal if you do this. Like, hey. I use card salesman. I'm like, no. Revenue required for your fee before any credits so that we can do effective analysis and due diligence. And the revenue before credits came back at 0.09%, 9 basis points. Think about that. 0.09%. Is it 0.0? Yeah. I always get the basis points and everything all mixed up. In essence, it's like 9 cents per every $1,000. And I could have gotten that math wrong. Don't yell at me if I did. I'm sorry. It's really cheap. And I went back to them and I was like, okay, well, what is it with credit? So if we use, I'll talk about this in a second. This is where I'm getting. If we use some of their stuff, some of their products and stuff, then we get a discount. And then it went down to 0.03%, 3 basis points. And I was like, that's the cheapest thing ever. This is not a $1 billion plan. This is a $22 million 401k. So I went back, I have a good relationship with the wholesaler, and I was like, walk me through this, man. Like, how are y'all making any money? How do you stay any business? And he said, and this should have dawned on me earlier. And everybody, advisors, 401k advisors that are smarter than me, you knew this. And I did it at my core, but I hadn't really kind of pieced together what's going on. He said, we make all of our money in other ways. And I was like, okay. So first of all, kudos to this wholesaler. Here's the thing. None of the things we're about to talk about are right or wrong. That's not the thing. Every tool has a use case. It's what we tell our wealth management clients. Every tool has a use case, right? Same thing here. The problem is, have you provided all of the information that the advisor or the client needs to analyze and review the options to help the plan sponsor make the best decision for them and their employees? That's where the problem comes. Because if you make it convoluted and hard to understand, and then they make a decision without all of that information, that makes me angry. And that's one of my side missions too, is I don't want people to be tricked into buying things. If you're not confident in your product to be able to say, hey, here's what's going on exactly, here's what we make in terms of revenue on this, and here's the service it provides to you and your people, then you don't have a good product. And I will stand by that. So inside of that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so I started really digging into the service and the fee models. And I was like, you know what? It makes a lot of sense, but what's happening? How is this playing out? How it's playing out, if you've noticed and been in the 401k world at all, is there's all of these shiny new toys, right? Shiny new toys. Like the 401k world is complex as it is, but now we have all of these other things you can add to your plan. So we have different types of managed accounts that work in different ways. We have proprietary target date funds. And all that means is that your provider also creates the target date funds that your participants then invest in and that you use as your qualified default investment alternative, which is called a QDIA. They're proprietary ones. So it'd be like if you logged into GrantEllis401k.com, and then I was like, hey, also, you should use Grant Ellis target date funds as your QDIA. And you're like, oh, and if you do that, we're going to give you a discount on your required revenue. And you're like, whoa, discount. Sounds great. And you push the button and all of a sudden you've got Grant Ellis. And they're like, also, you need to add Grant Ellis managed accounts. And then the list goes on and on to where we have what are called co-manufactured target date funds. Woo! That's where you've got Grant Ellis and he gets together with, Billy 401k. We're like, we get Billy 401k funds and they're the best in the world and you get a big discount if you use them. And you're like, oh, I've got to use Grant Billy 401k TDFs, target date funds. That sounds amazing. And you're like, is it really? And these are proprietary. The industry calls it prop. Prop means things that are proprietary that they get paid extra revenue on. And then there's some proprietary elements. Those have been around for a while. TDFs, proprietary, that's been around for a while. Again, they're not bad, but we are going to do a very thorough due diligence process and determine what's in the best interest of the plan and the participants. And if that so happens to be Grant Ellis 401k target date funds, so be it. But you cannot let the tail wag the dog, so to speak, right? You cannot choose the thing without doing the analysis. And then now it's getting even harder. That's what revenue sharing is, right? Oh, hey, Grant Ellis 401k gets paid a little bit of this investment cost. And then now you see things like the stable value fund. If you don't know what a stable value fund is, it's basically Oh, no, I don't want to explain it because somebody's going to be like, you explained it wrong. But you have money market funds and you have stable value funds. Stable value funds typically are insurance contracts that pay you a sometimes credited rate that stays the same. It can fluctuate over time, either over the quarter or over the year, but it's more stable in terms of the rate because it's usually an insurance contract with a provider. I said that like a radio person on purpose because it's hard to explain. But basically, think of it as your short-term fund, right? Ultra short-term fund, your cash money market fund. Now you can have and again, I don't offer any of these things. So don't take a soundbite and it's like, Grant Ellis 401k now offers target date funds. And no, I don't. This is an example because I don't want to call anybody out because I'm not about that, except for in general terms. But now we're putting stable value funds both inside of the target date funds. That's a revenue stream, right? Hey, Grant Ellis's stable value fund is now inside of the Grant Ellis target date funds. And it's like there's these revenue layers everywhere. And think about if you add all those different things up. You've got like 5, 8, 10 options of different ways for the provider or the investment company to make more money. Again, nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with that is this. If it is not being disclosed and the plan sponsor does not understand the options and the costs and the benefits associated with those options, to me, that's a problem. So instead, if you come to me and say, hey, for we use XYZ, let's quit throwing Grant Ellis under the bus here in terms of his 401k company. Let's not do that. Because again, I don't do any of those things. Let's say it's XYZ company and they come to you. Here's how I think it should happen. XYZ company, we quote and we say, hey, before any credits or any additional stuff, our required revenue is this. This is what we need. So if you don't use anything else, you just choose the funds you want. We do all of our stuff, everything we do. This is our required revenue. But if you do want to entertain the idea of using some of these other tools and you want to take them through your due diligence process, we do give fee reductions and credits for certain things. So I want to walk you through the lists, help you understand what they are, why they might benefit your employees, typically the pros and the cons of these, and then how and what we get paid. So not Grant Ellis, XYZ target date funds. So we created these. They're fantastic. They run great due diligence. And because we make a little bit more money on these because we own them, then we can give you a credit to your revenue requirement that we're charging. And that just helps everybody out. Oh, sweet. You go down the line and you do that. And if you're an employer, plan sponsor, or an advisor, those are the questions you need to be asking. Give me required revenue. Help me understand the nuance of all the different proprietary elements that you have as tools, as options. And then we can make a decision based on our due diligence process, right? Because that's what the Department of Labor and the government requires us to do, is to have a sound due diligence process so that we can make the decisions that are in the best interest of the employees. To me, that's the only way to think about it. So a couple of different things. Number one, if you're a wholesaler listening out here, you want to earn a lot of trust with advisors, definitely go in transparent and be like, listen, I want to walk you through all your options. What happens is there are a lot of advisors that don't have the expertise in 401k to understand that any of this exists. It's not their fault. But then somebody comes to them and says, look how cheap you can make it if you just do check this box. Or what really upsets me is when the record keeper submits the proposal and automatically includes all of their prop. They automatically include all of the things that provide them additional revenue streams and credits to the plan. That doesn't make Grant happy because it doesn't allow us to do due diligence and actually make determinations based on what's going on. So think of it like this. Things have gotten extremely confusing. To me, I get it. It's the nature of, I don't blame a record keeper for needing to make more money. I want you to understand me with that. I don't blame an advisor for wanting to be profitable. I don't blame anybody for making money, providing a service. I do think though, that if we're not careful, we're going to lose a lot of trust in the industry because of a lack of transparency and disclosure. And we need to be upfront and say, we are proud of what we offer. Here it is. Here's the cost. Here's how it benefits your people. Here's what we get paid, and here are the different options that you have. I promise you, it's also a much more freeing way to do business because you're not trying to sell anybody ever, right? People ask me about sales all the time, and I'm like, I'm not a good salesperson. Yes, I've been through a bazillion trainings, but honestly, it just made me worse, I think. What we do is it reminds me of Tommy Boy. Listen, I'm aging myself, I'm 45, but if you've never seen Tommy Boy, check out the scene on YouTube. And basically, he tries to sell something, he does his pitch, and the guy says no, and he says, well, and just walks off. That's me. And there's another scene, it's like, big gulps, huh? Like, I don't know, I'm not a salesperson, but what I want to do is help educate you on all of the options that you have, walk you through all the scenarios, answer all the questions. We tell every prospect we're meeting with, and you have to believe this to say this, but like our job is to help you figure out where you need to be. It's not to make you go with us. Our job is to help you have all of the information, consider all the angles, so that you can make the best decision for you and your people. And obviously, we would love to work with you. We would. And if it's us, great. We will take amazingly good care of you. But if it's not, and you go somewhere else, number one, we're going to be fine. We're going to be friends, and you can ask us questions, whatever. We're not going to be upset because we did our job, which was to help you get where you needed to be, even if it's not us. And I just wish we would encourage each other as an industry to take that stance a little bit more of, we are here to help you get where you need to be, even if it's not us. We hope it is. There's nothing wrong with telling people we believe in what we do and we want to serve you as well. We hope you work with us. But if it's not, then we know we helped you get to the right decision for you. So fees, they've gotten complex. I would say they don't have to be, but they are. So you have to dig in. So whatever side of the table you're on, I think you have some decisions to make in terms of how you're going to run your business and how you're going to take your due diligence process to the next level, right? So taking it very seriously, look at these things. We've got a couple of plans in the works right now that you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that was just in places that people didn't know, and it end up being paid by the participants. This is money directly out of their pockets. And if we claim that we're trying to help as many people retire well as possible, then we can't hide these things and act like we're not talking from both ends of the, that's not a phrase either, talking from both ends of the fork. I don't even know what I'm saying, but you know what I mean. You get the point. We cannot talk out of both sides of our mouth. That's it. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. So I want us to just come together a little bit more and help educate plan sponsors about what they're looking for. They are going to need advisors to do that. It is not going to get less complex. Unfortunately, it's going to get more complex. And we need record keepers, TPAs, advisors, wholesalers, everybody to take the harder stance sometimes of saying, I'm not going to do the only self-serving thing I can do. I'm going to do what's in the best interest of the plan sponsor and their participants. And that sometimes means educating before selling. And that's what we're always trying to do, right? And I promise you this, number one, your business will grow because you should see people's eyes light up in the plan sponsor meetings when they see this for the first time. They're like, I had no idea. And you're like, you're not supposed to. I don't know how to do your job. You're not supposed to know. Don't feel bad, right? But also, we're doing the right thing. And I think that's important sometimes. And I know it's cliche and hopefully it doesn't sound sanctimonious. I don't do the right thing every day. I want to, and I'm striving to. So everything I try to say is like, this is what we're striving towards, right? Let's just strive towards being better at what we do and make sure that our profession is looked at with respect like it should be, and not one of those things where it's like, oh, somebody's trying to sell me something again. That. So anyway, I just want to encourage anybody who's listening to this that there is a method where you can grow your business, be transparent, educate, help, all of those things. They are not mutually exclusive. And that's what we're going to continue to try to do, is to dig in on these subject matters and help plan sponsors and participants understand what's going inside of their plan so they can make decisions in their best interests. So again, listen, it's good to be back. Check out the YouTube if you want to. I don't know, it's weird. But if you want to check out the YouTube, do it. If you're on the YouTube, check out the podcast. Yay. But anyway, if there's any subjects you want me to talk about, or you just want to connect, LinkedIn's a great spot. I love connecting with friends on LinkedIn, and I promise I won't spammy sell you. I promise. Or if you want to, our website's ellisretirement.com. Let's see if there's any other ways. That's probably the best way. That'll get you where you need to go. I love hearing stories, connecting with people, helping, whatever I can do. If there's subjects that I could talk about, just let me know. And also, just as a reminder, if you did like it, feel free to like it, subscribe to it, share it with somebody else. Again, I know I sound cheesy, but it just helps more people find it. And we appreciate it. So I hope this was helpful, and we can make education hopefully a little bit enjoyable and not take ourselves so seriously. Like, we're not that important, right? What we do is important, but like personally, let's have a good time, enjoy each other, develop more relationships, and it's going to be better for all parties. So appreciate you listening and watching, and we will talk to you next time.